should be good.
Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to Group 4's Chapter 10 presentation on creating productive work environments. Once again, your Group 4 presenters are me, Chuck Kutra, TJ Book, Paul Hans, Sir Shao, and Cody Wentz. With that, we'll take care of objective number 1.
All right, objective number 1, define psychological success and discuss ways to control the work environment. Psychological success occurs when individuals perform competently at a task that he or she values. New teachers tend to struggle with this because they don't feel competent really or confident in their new job. So it's important for school administrators to pay attention to that and help really mentor them through that so they get those successes early on. School conditions can either help or hinder teachers' abilities to experience success in their work. And these are things just as simple as student attitudes. What are those attitudes we're accepting in our schools and really allowing students to get away with, or vice versa? What are administrators' interests? What are the appearances of the classrooms and the surroundings? Are we giving our new teachers those things that experienced teachers don't need or want anymore? Also, school administrators just really need to be aware, manage class sizes, take care of those materials. New teachers and work environments, new teachers don't necessarily have the money to go out and buy those supplies and materials for their classrooms, yet they do, which is one of those things that can lead to attrition. So overall, school administrators, we need to pay attention and help mentor our students. Objective number 2 will cover the qualities of a productive work environment.
All right, to number 2, when we're examining the various qualities of productive work environment, we got some main bullet points. It would start with having a clear mission. I think everybody who's, come up in the educational field like all of us understands that when everybody is focused collectively on a mission, the entire work environment becomes more productive. So it's important that administration has communicated that mission, that it's understood by staff and it's accepted by staff. Just simply having a mission with no follow through doesn't amount to much. So there has to be that buy-in, and how that mission is pursued needs to be visible amongst staff members. If there's disconnects in spending, if there's disconnects in purpose and function, then the mission just becomes kind of a boilerplate. We need to connect our spending, how we're spending our money on teachers and supplies and facilities, towards that mission, and make sure people can visibly see that we're in pursuit of a unified goal. The mission needs to focus on total growth. A lot of the text talked about how academic growth seemed to be the focus and was the main focus of education for a lot of years, especially when the public school system started. But there's a definite need that we've probably all experienced for social and moral development as well, that we're developing those aspects of young people as they come up through the school system. Some schools might be the main source of social and moral development that kids engage with. So there needs to be that component within the mission somewhere. It can't just be, we want to be, academically successful. Another productive work environment component would be the supportive leadership that administrative exhibits. So I have them listed here: engages positively with stakeholders, takes concerns and suggestions seriously, expresses clear expectations, utilizes hierarchy, includes others in decision-making, and maintains consistent norms. So to summarize that, it's kind of, you want administrators that are positive, empathetic, good listeners, and operate consistently amongst all staff members. It doesn't have to be about, friendships and everybody liking each other. It's about being a consistent presence in the building that always engages and operates with everybody in a consistent fashion. And then some of those characteristics of empathy and having a positive kind of demeanor about yourself. Professional culture is a great product of a productive work environment. Are people, included? Is the environment inclusive of everybody's skill sets and abilities? Is there a presence of teamwork and collaboration, kind of that air in that environment where we're all working together towards a common goal? The characteristics that the text talks about being present in a community, a professional working community, are having those shared values, having everybody mutually committed, having a feeling of belonging and caring, having a feeling of interdependence, which goes back to that collaboration that we're all working together. And do people have regular contact with one another? The opposite of that being teacher that comes in and goes out through their own door, and doesn't engage much with people. People in a productive work environment want their skills and strengths utilized. Basically, the synopsis of this would be familiarity breeds complacency. If a teacher is doing the same thing, I think I know I picture certain teachers that I grew up in school with and even have engaged with in my professional career, where they've done the same job in the same classroom for 30 or 40 years plus. And text says that the familiarity breeds complacency, that there's a natural drop and a dip in that work environment in most cases, unless an employee is being challenged and presented with growth opportunities. If they are being supported creatively, if they're coming with lesson plans or ideas, field trips, all kinds of different things that, and they're met with support, it will stimulate teachers to continue to grow. And a productive work environment is where teachers feel like they're using their strengths. They don't feel like they're using their strengths, whether it's in a school or in any other professional field. Productivity naturally drops. Teachers want a comfortable facility. Schools, parents, even administration, we want comfortable facilities that are cared for, that aren't dilapidated. Maintaining regular maintenance in all areas of the building. That includes not just visuals, but paint, desks, hardware. And one thing they threw in there that a big new wave thing is air, that air quality is good, water quality is good, so people feel like they're in a comfortable facility. Staff needs adequate time to perform duties. We all know that 180 days is not usually sufficient for instruction to cover all objectives. A good leader and good HR department help teachers self-analyze where their strengths are, how they're using non-instructional time as a means of improvement. If you have 2 or 3 teachers in a core in the same subject or in a pod together, and 2 of them are getting it done and one of them's not, it isn't about what they need to remove from their academic curriculum. It isn't about what they should subtract from instruction. The first step is analyzing what they're doing with their non-instructional time, because perhaps they're spending too much time on a non-instructional task that doesn't need to be done or shouldn't be prioritized over instructional time in the classroom. So good leadership will help them prioritize their time and maximize their instructional time in the classroom. And lastly, quality of a productive work environment would be having adequate materials and equipment. Educators tend to have a perpetual fear of not having enough supplies or access to financial support. Sarah mentioned that, teachers sometimes have to spend their own money or choose to spend their own money. So alleviating some of that fear by giving teachers resources, whether they're online resources, academic resources, curriculum resources, or helping teachers maintain a budget or let them know what their budget is, make sure that budget is supported regularly or annually, so that teachers can have some sort of confidence when they're building their classroom and the curriculum of what access to financial support that they have. And if they don't have financial access or financial support, what online or etc. avenues do they have to pursue either materials or other resources?
Okay, objective number 3 is on teacher stress and burnout. Teachers today have less freedom to decide what to teach and how to teach it, and they feel more pressure from administrators and parents. They feel more like clerks carrying out orders compared to the professionalism that they used to feel 20, 30 years ago. I think we can all relate to the fact that each school year it seems like new things are added and very rarely are things taken away from previous years. So the workload seems to grow and grow. Stress levels vary among teachers due to class sizes, the student makeup in your classroom, your extra duty workload, and also just your individual tolerance for stress. The book stated that stress is the most often cited reason for teachers leaving the field, ahead of low salaries and poor working conditions. There are 4 types of stress that teachers experience, and those are time stress, situational stress, encounter stress, and anticipatory stress. The first of those, time stress, is simply when you don't feel you have sufficient time to complete a task. All teachers feel this at some point. The group that they point out that feels this maybe the most is special education teachers. The book stated that it is estimated that special education teachers spend 5 or more hours per week doing paperwork. The second type of stress is situational stress, and this occurs when you have a perceived inability to cope with the demands of your job. I found it interesting that only 61% of new teachers feel that they have adequate preparation for their teaching position. It was also interesting in this unit to read that 1/3 of high school math teachers and 1/4 of English teachers do not even have a minor in that subject area. So when they're teaching out of something that they've have no training for, that adds to the situational stress. Poor hiring practices can cause this or lead to this. They did a study on 4 states. 62% of new hires occurred within 30 days of the start of the school year, and 1/3 of new teachers were hired after the school year was already underway. So when you don't have time to prepare and you're thrown into a situation, that adds extremely to the stress levels. The third of those is encounter stress, and that is when you have to deal with a critical or hostile person. Most often, this could be a student in your class, which compared to like a salesperson, you might send that student to the office, but that student is going to come back to your classroom and you're going to have that same student, for 180 school days, where somebody in a different occupation sees that person maybe once a year. Also with parents, dealing with irate parents is something that is a situation that a lot of people do not want to deal with. It adds extremely to the stress level of a teacher. The fourth of those is anticipatory stress. This is where you feel moments of anxiety. If you think about students that are going to take a test, they get moments of anxiety there. In the teacher world, this deals with being observed by your principal, an upcoming observation, meetings with parents, and also in today's world, when they get the state test scores that are going to be coming about, a lot of teachers feel anticipatory stress around those times. The next slide here on stress and burnout. Many teachers experience anxiety, fatigue, and sensitivity to criticism, and those all cause stress, which can eventually lead to burnout. Prolonged periods of that will lead to that burnout. And burnout is described as feeling alone and isolated in your occupation. And you start to get a little bit distraught and you find a lot of fault with others on your teaching staff. Factors in burnout. There are many factors that lead to burnout, some of which are when your duties of your occupation are not clear, you don't have a specific job description, you have insufficient authority to carry out your tasks, you have too heavy of a workload, but also maybe too light of a workload where you're not feeling any sense of worth with your job. And also job insecurity, where maybe you don't know if you're going to receive tenure or you're under an improvement plan. Principals can help with this in a number of ways. They can remove the dread of performance evaluation by pointing that everyone on staff has things that they can improve on. Other things, they can plan faculty outings where you get the staff together outside of the school setting to enjoy each other's company there. And also maybe just like any good leader, remind people of their past successes and really try to build them up. Teacher absenteeism was another part of this, caused by stress and burnout. It's a symptom of excessive stress. As we all know, sometimes teacher absenteeism can be caused by other things, family responsibilities where your daycare provider is sick and you don't have anybody to watch your kids, or one of your kids is sick. The working conditions of your job can also provide or cause teacher absenteeism. And one of the things also that they mentioned was the work ethic that you acquired as a youth will determine how often you're at work. When teachers are absent, students will start to follow suit. If they know their teachers, maybe they're 4 out of 5 days a week, they will start to feel that it might not be that important to be at school as well, and learning opportunities become lost. Schools have tried to combat this a little bit by offering monetary rewards for teachers with great attendance records, maybe even allow them to buy their sick days back. I think some districts around here actually even do that. The last piece of this is on loss of learning, which was hit a little bit in teacher absenteeism, but absenteeism costs the district money, and they pointed this out in the text. A district with 500 teachers and a 4% absentee rate, which is not out of the norm. If you pay your substitutes $90 a day, your district incurs costs of $324,000. So that's quite a chunk of change. Like I mentioned earlier, students of teachers who miss school frequently tend to have poor attendance records as well. Some absenteeism, as I think we're all aware, is legitimate. You know, we don't expect, especially this past school year, we don't want teachers coming to school if they are not feeling well. And also they talked about some mental health days where maybe you are experiencing some stress and you need to take that personal day to just refresh a little bit. And pretty much in summary, at the end of this chapter, they talked about two main points. Human beings seek psychological success from their jobs, and all teachers experience some sort of stress.
Okay, thanks, guys. That concludes chapter 10. Thank you to group 4 for participating, and thank you for watching, everyone.